Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on May 10th, 2018. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. I am filling in for Dan Rubin today, who is still on assignment. Steven, good morning to you, my friend.
David, how are you, my friend? What's going on, brother?
Great, man. It was good seeing you down in Nashville, dude.
It was, man. It was a good time. It was great getting around all the people in the 24/7 Sports Network and just, continuing to build relationships with the people that you work closely with and then obviously getting to meet some of the new additions to the 24/7 Sports team and hear the vision moving forward and having young kids. And it's just very exciting to know that I'm at a very stable spot and we're part of a fantastic network.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So many impressive people associated with the network, and could not be any prouder to be associated with 24/7 Sports. That was a lot of fun going down there. Okay, so on today's show, listeners, I'm going to ask Steve about 7 of the top uncommitted recruits on Ohio State's radar for the 2019 class, including 5 five-star prospects. We'll get to that in a minute. But before we get to that, Mr. Wiltfong, what is your take so far on the Buckeyes 9-man recruiting class? It's very early for 2019. The class is currently 9th in the 24/7 Sports composite team rankings. Just your thoughts on the Buckeyes class thus far?
Well, David, I think you look at Garrett Wilson right away and you're fired up about the number 2 receiver in the 24/7 Sports top 247 player rankings. Garrett is going to be an instant impact player at a position of need for Ohio State, and they go out and land one of the nation's best receivers on the offensive line. You got Doug Nestor committed, not many more powerful than him at the point of attack, a guy that will bring some versatility to the Buckeyes up front. So those are 2 guys off the top that I like a lot.
All right, let's go right down the list of what I'm going to call Wiltfong 7. I picked him out, he didn't, but I'm still going to call it Wiltfong 7 because that's the headline of today's show. Again, these are 7 of the top uncommitted recruits on Ohio State Sport for 2019, including 5 five-star kids. Let's start right at the top. Darnell Wright, number 1 offensive tackle in the country, number 2 overall in the 24/7 Sports composite. Steve, what's the latest on Darnell Wright as it pertains to Ohio State?
I think Ohio State has to make up ground for Darnell Wright. I think as it stands right now, Ohio State has their offensive line commit from the state of West Virginia in Doug Nestor. As it stands right now, I don't see them getting 2. Perhaps that will change as the process continues. And Ohio State's certainly going to continue to recruit Darnell. But as it stands right now, I think Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Miami are some of the programs that are in better shape than Ohio State right now.
Zack Harrison from right here in Columbus, Olentangy Orange, number 2. Weak side defensive end, number 3 overall. What's your take on where Zack Harrison might end up?
Well, Zack Harrison's number 1 in the rankings that matter right now, the 24/7 Sports player rankings, number 1 overall, number 1 in Ohio, number 1 at his position. Number 1 in your hearts, because I think he's going to be a Buckeye as it stands right now. But Penn State has certainly made it interesting. He's very high on Michigan. I think he's intrigued by Clemson, but that's probably a long shot for the Tigers. So he's already taken his official visit to Penn State. And he told me over the weekend when I saw him at the opening regional there in Massillon, that he didn't think he'd make it back to Penn State. He's going to come back to Ohio State for an official at the very least. So Michigan's going to get him back in June, but I like Ohio State, but not a slam dunk for Zack Harrison.
Devante Dobbs, Belleville, Michigan, number 3 offensive tackle in the country, number 10 overall according to the 24/7 Sports composite. Mr. Wiltfong, what's the latest on Devante Dobbs?
I think Ohio State has a great chance for Devante Dobbs, the blue chipper out of the Detroit area. I don't think there's a program recruiting him harder right now. He's another prospect that could play a couple positions on the offensive front. And right now, there's a few. You got Georgia in there, Clemson in there, USC's in there, Michigan State's, of course, in there. But Ohio State right there in the thick of it, and they could be the leader.
Brandon Smith from Virginia, number 2 inside linebacker in the country, number 29 overall in the composite. What's the scoop on Brandon Smith, my friend?
Yeah, I actually wrote a feature on the 5-star from Virginia on Wednesday for my Buzz column that I do nationally. And what a terrific kid, man. He's been on a wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning regiment since the 5th grade to meet his goals, which is to ultimately play in the NFL. And his dad went to Fort Union Military Academy, 2 successful parents. But anyway, he's driven. My crystal ball's on Penn State, but Ohio State, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Clemson, Michigan, those are some of the others. And I think in June, Brandon's going to start taking some more visits, and he's looking to make a decision before September. He'll enroll early to the school of his choosing. I think Penn State has set the bar right now for Brandon Smith.
3 more kids I'm going to ask you about. Harry Miller, Buford, Georgia, number 2 center, number 36 overall in the composite. How do the Buckeyes stand with Harry Miller, Steve?
My crystal ball's on Ohio State, and as you listen, the Buckeyes have a chance to sign a really special offensive line class this cycle. Harry Miller, they're going toe-to-toe with Stanford for the future Buford valedictorian, who is an amazing citizen who does work in other countries. But Ohio State recruiting that kid as hard as any prospect this cycle. A young man that is friends with Steel Chambers. That's another. You asked me what I like about this class. Ohio State has 2 intriguing running backs committed in Steel Chambers and Samson James from my neck of the woods. But I like Ohio State for Harry Miller, unless something were to change as he's thinking about his future, because it doesn't look like he's taking any more visits to Ohio State or Stanford. Maybe Clemson could make a late rally there, but I like Ohio State for Harry Miller.
And sticking with the offensive line, right here in the state of Ohio, Zeke Correll, Cincinnati Anderson, same high school that produced Andrew Norwell, who did really well at Ohio State, is now making like billions of dollars in the NFL. Zeke Correll, number 9 offensive guard, number 164 overall. What are you hearing about Zeke Correll, Steve?
I think that one's trending away from Ohio State. I like Notre Dame. Notre Dame's my crystal ball pick for Zeke Correll.
Yeah, Bill Green said the same thing. Man, if Bill Green and Steve Wiltfong are saying that, that's, Brian Kelly, you can almost put that in the bank.
That's one position Notre Dame can go
intended.
toe-to-toe. That's one position Notre Dame can go toe-to-toe with anyone, is offensive line. And so, they're in a good spot for Zeke Corral as it stands right now.
And last kid, I'm asking you a follow-up about this, but last kid I want to ask you about Grant Gunnell, Houston, Texas. For a while, it looked like he was trending toward Ohio State. Now I'm hearing he might be trending away. Give the listeners the latest on the number 3 pro-style quarterback, number 96 overall prospect in the country, Grant Gunnell from Houston.
I think that Grant Gunnell's recruitment is one that seems like it's going one way one day and going a different way another day. Arizona last week, Ohio State this week, another school next week. He's got a lot of schools recruiting him hard, and he's one of the, if not the top quarterback still out there. And it's a position where there's not a ton of coveted guys. So there's a lot of schools swinging at Grant, and he's already reopened the process once. So I'm sure he wants to be, very thorough this time around in making his college decision. And he's been on a lot of visits, and every time he takes a visit, I'm sure that it's one where it feels right, So you have to go and take a step back and digest it and continue to talk to coaches. And I wouldn't be surprised if he took a visit or two to a program that we're not even talking about just yet, just so he really makes sure that he's making the right decision on where he wants to go. I think Ohio State's in the thick of it. And so we'll see. What ends up happening. When he took his visit to Ohio State about 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, there were a couple people around the Ohio State program felt really good about Ohio State's chances. I haven't dug into it since then. Grant said nice things about the visit, but of course he had a good time. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
And, Steve, before you get out of here, I have noticed a change in quarterback recruiting for Ohio State. They're going after more pro-style guys, not just Grant Gunnell, but just even going back the last couple of years, less dual threat guys. This could be the Ryan Day effect. Could be Urban Meyer evolving as far as his offensive philosophy is concerned, maybe a little bit of both. Just what are your thoughts on that, Steve? You're as close to this as anybody. What are your thoughts about Ohio State maybe recruiting more pro-style quarterbacks, less dual threat quarterbacks?
I just think that they're trying to recruit a guy that they feel has the ability, the traits, and the balls to play quarterback at Ohio State, where it's a scrutinized position. Every game you're probably getting the other team's best shot. There's a lot riding on every ball game because you're trying to compete for a national championship. So the position at Ohio State goes beyond just being a good football player. And so I didn't really give too much thought to the traits they're looking for at the position as far as pro-style dual threat. I think they're just looking for a guy that's good, that's accurate, that can make the throws they want, that's an alpha personality. And Ryan Day and Urban Meyer and those guys, they'll build the offense around whoever their starter is.
Fantastic insights. We would expect nothing less from the director of recruiting for 24/7 Sports. He is Steve Wiltfong. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining me on a special Thursday edition with our guy Dan Rubin on assignment. Wiltfong, you can read stuff all over 24/7 Sports. Everybody knows that. Thank you very much, Steve. Thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning in to the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag.
Thanks, y'all. Take care, David.